Hi everyone, welcome back to Forwards. I'm going to do a one-take video today just to show you around my Forwards X race bike. This bike has evolved over a couple of years now. This was the second bike that was built using this frame. The original one being called a GR, which was the pink one that was featured in the Cyclist magazine. That's the bike that James Williams now races. The name evolved eventually to the X as it's a crossover bike. That's what we sort of had in mind for it, that you can use it for racing gravel and also racing cyclocross. And this bike was finally the specification was finalized before we launched the CX bike. So I'm just going to give you a quick walk around, show you the specification of it in case anyone's interested, and then I'll pick up any other details as we have a look. So as I said, this is my bike, and this is the one that I raced last year in the King's Cup gravel race here in the UK. I finished 11th in that race, which was quite disappointing. I was hoping for a bit better than that, but that's just a side note. So I'll give you a quick look around and pick up any bits and pieces as I go, and hopefully you'll find it interesting. So I'll start from handlebars down, I think. So my bike's running the X in general, should I say, runs an integrated frame as standard. So it's a fully integrated frame with no inputs for cables. So there's nowhere on the frame to take cables in. And then we have the choice of going through the stem, which we do here. So the cables go down in through the stem. Or we could go fully inside. So we could put the hoses and the electronic cables, etc. inside. You wouldn't really want this with mechanical, because the angles would be too tight and you just wouldn't get the gear shifting to work properly. So really it needs to be built with electronic only. We don't use fully integrated into the handlebar systems because I prefer to have the nice sweeps to go inside the frame there, or down inside the headset, should I say. So that's why I don't have a fully integrated cockpit on that, and we'll pick up those sort of details when we talk about some of the other models as well. So the bike has evolved from the original specification that we posted up on the website. So the pictures of the X in its cyclocross form on the website pages will be updated eventually. But this is running the Deda Superbox stem. As I said, we debrand the stem so we get rid of all the graphics on the side. I think it looks nicer. So we take that off, and the graphic on the top is actually lasered on there, so I can't take that off, so that's why that remains. Handlebar has evolved. Originally this was released with a matching Deda handlebar, and we fitted the carbon fibre one to it. But now we've opted to go with the Pro Discover handlebars, and then you can have that in a 12-degree flare, which is what I'm running on my bike here, or a 20 flare. And then you can have the different widths as well. So you can have 40, 42 or 44 width bars. And then the 12-degree flare has a flatter top section, so it's a more aerodynamic top section on there as well. So that leads on nicely as I'm touching the grip tape, or the bar tape, should I say. So it's got 3.5mm bar tape on the gravel bike. I find that's more comfortable. This is the gel type. If you've watched any of our other videos, I absolutely love this tape. Wraps really, really well. It's wrapped in figure of 8. This is how it was from racing it. I also raced it early this year in cross, so it's tape needs replacing at some stage. So yeah, 3.5 wrapped in a figure of 8, and then we finish it with the end tape that comes with. Top cap there's from JRC. So that's their tree range one. We've got that on there as well. Has got the Garmin out front mount. That's a new addition. This wasn't what I used last year in the gravel race, but I've moved over to Garmin now because we're Garmin suppliers. So that's the out front mount. Other points to notice on there, so it's got the matching, the actual stem, the Superbox stem is called a DCR stem, that's their integrated stem, and it has the matching dead air headset as well, so that's a 1.5 headset all the way through. It gives you space to get the cables down into the frame. What we do is we mount the Bluetooth module in this tube in some foam, and that's for controlling your computer from your shift levers here. That's how I have mine set up, and that's how I would set it up for customers if they wanted it that way. So this has got GRX Di2 on it. The way I set up my shifters is the same as all my other bikes. I have the left-hand shifter, although it's one by, this matches my right-hand shifter. So if I'm racing and I'm feeding and then someone attacks or anything like that, I can sort of still be shifting gear with my left hand if I've got my right hand with food in. So that's the reason I map it that way. And then I map my buttons on the hoods here to change my computer screen, so I can be down in the bars and I can still press that to switch through the screen. So that's how I have that set up. So as I said, full Di2 group set. I'll just flick through the group set quickly. So we run the cables down in through the stem. The Di2 cables go through there into the Bluetooth box, and then it goes down through the main tube into the junction box, and then we use foam liners inside to stop any rattling. It has the Di2 GRX rear mech, obviously. We do details like run an O-ring around the mech hanger there, so that's actually on the mechanism, not the bike hanger. And then these little O-rings just keep the Di2 cable away from the cassette. It's just real simple details to stop any reliability issues with something catching and then pulling the cable in. You know, say if you went past some twigs or something like that, or bushes, and it just caught the cable, it could push it into the cassette and rip it off. So we've done that sort of detail there. So Di2 rear mech with the lockout on. Chain set, if we just carry on from the group. So actually, let's just cover the chain really quickly as we go through there. You can see it's waxed. So this is Silka hot waxed, and this is what we've been testing through racing now, and then this is what I use on the gravel bike and on the cross racing, and also on the road bike. So we're literally using hot waxing now across the whole range of bikes, or the race bikes, and that we use anyway. So it's got rotor chain set, rotor Aldu crank arms, Inspider power meter with the latest update, and then it's got a rotor chainring 42 tooth, and then it's worth noting that I'm running the 1142 rear cassette. Something like the King's Cup, you absolutely wouldn't need to have anywhere near that big gear on there. You could have a bigger front ring and then change the ratios, but that's what I had on it last year. I have end caps on my crank arms to stop them getting smacked with stones and that hitting them. So I like them, that we get those automatically every time we order a rotor cranks and stuff. You'll see it's got XTR pedals on it, which I use on every single bike. And so it has those. And then we also fit the Wolf Tooth Narwolf front chain guide. For the tiny amount of weight this costs, it is absolutely essential, I think, to just stop any risk of the chain dropping. And touch wood, we've never had anything happen, even in the atrocious conditions we've race crossing. Well, I've race crossing, it's not happened. So have the Narwolf on there as well. It's got the custom Race Plus cages there from Elite. Got a pair of those. I just find that those are super secure at stopping the bottles flying out if you hit bumps and stuff. We did try the Cannibal ones before, but a couple of bottles dropped out, so I've now moved over to those 2 cages. So we've got 2 cages on there. Used to run one underneath here with the toolkit in, but I don't do that now because we use the Apogee bag on the back of the saddle. So we'd have one of those there just with some basic tools in for the racing. Wheel wise, this has got the Sector wheels on. These are the Sector GCI wheels, 700C. They look phenomenal and they ride really, really well. They're not the lightest wheel they do match the bike really well, and people sort of know my race bike now for having these wheels on. But I will probably change to a different wheel, one of the Hunt range this year, and then save a load of rolling weight, which will be nice. But this is what we got on there now, and then as you can see, it does match the paint job very nice. The colour, by the way, is called Grigio, Grigio Titanium, or Titania Grigio, and it's a very, very nice metallic colour with black graphics on it. That's what that has on it. This was the original concept bike for the X, so there's details like the X on the top now is actually a smaller size. If anyone's seen an X other than my one, the font size is different now. So tyre wise on this, it's got the Schwalbe G1R. Absolutely amazing these tyres were. James and I rode these in the King's Cup last year for the first time, if I'm honest. I didn't do any testing with it beforehand. We just went straight in and just raced these, and they were fantastic. So we were quite lucky there, because that is absolutely not what you should do. You should test your tyres first, but we didn't. We went straight in with them and they were great. I run the tyre liner in there, so the tyre liners that we use are the Airliner Gravel, which is that sort of profile. That is the sample that we sort of have on the shelf to show customers. I'll just grab it down. So I've got this liner inside, and that just sits down inside the rim there. And I have a liner front and back, so that just, if something happened and I hit a pothole, it just gives me some safety. And I actually did in the King's Cup. I did hit a pothole quite hard, and it just hit the tyre liner, so that's quite good. I always overfill my tyres with sealant. I run 100 ml of sealant, not the normal recommended amount. I run it a bit higher. It gives me a little bit more confidence I've got enough sealant in there, and then also it gives you a little bit extra to get in and around the tyre liner, because the tyre liner can give you a little bit of hassle with sealing otherwise. Other stuff I've got on this one, so this bottom bracket on here is a Chris King. So I've got a Chris King on my own race bike. This was part of the development of the bike, but we've just gone back to the original bottom brackets that we use, which are the Praxis. And then for the X model, we upgrade the bearings to ABEC 5, and then we put the angular contact in there. And we've just found them to be really, really good value. And then the money that's saved on the Chris King bottom bracket, we've put elsewhere into the build. So that's that. Brakes, obviously GRX. So GRX 810 brakes on there, front and rear. And then on the X, it runs 160 rotors. So the frame doesn't actually take 140. If you see there, there's no adapter under here. So it actually will only take 160 on the back. Obviously you could put a spacer and put bigger rotors on if you wanted to, which would be a bit strange, but yeah, 160 XTR rotors, and that's front and back. So we've got the XTR on there as well. Just have a quick scan over to see if I've forgotten anything. So saddle wise, I keep going on about how much I love these saddles, but if it's taken a while to find a nice saddle, then that's why. So this has got a Stealth Performance saddle on it. We do these now on all of the bikes, and I run the small medium size. Not that many people would care what size saddle I have, but that's what saddles we do. So Pro Stealth saddles, and this has got our own seat post, which we get from the same factory as the frames. It's 180 gram, super lightweight seat post, carbon fibre. So that's all we've got on there. And I think that probably covers everything. Our little details like the Di2 junction box in the end of the handlebar. So that's standard on all Di2 X models. We put them in the handlebar there. And then any blanks on our gravel race bikes where there's no bolts required, we put the little plastic screw blanks in there, and that saves saves about 2 grams actually every single bolt, so some weight weenies would like that. So that's about that. I think that probably covers everything on the bike, but as we're just going to be showing off the various different models, I will just hang it up so we can see how much it weighs. Just really quickly, so we know the sort of like how the bike's evolved. So this original bike, when it was in concept, was like I said, a gravel GR. So that was the original name of it. So the pink one was a GR, and then we changed the name to X, so we didn't confuse customers with a GR20, which is the all-round gravel bike. So this is actually called an X now, and the reason we call it X is because it's as I said earlier in the video, it's a crossover between a race gravel bike and to race cyclocross, although you could race cyclocross quite happily on a GR20. But that's just some background of the name there. Integrated seat bolt clamp as well, in case anyone wants to see that. And that's probably about that. I have the little chimney there. I know some people hate it, but I like that. Well, say like it would be the wrong word actually. I have it because I want the carbon to be all the way through this the stem, and the stem on it isn't actually very tall, so I didn't want it clamping on the end, so I have a tiny bit at the top there, a tiny chimney with carbon, just to give me the security there of it. So I think that's covered it. Sorry I've gone on and ranted a little bit. Let's chuck it in the scales, and then we'll see how much it weighs. We'll just get that on. We're trying to do these videos just so that we can get some information out, but we're one take videos, no editing, all that fancy stuff. There we go. So 9.52 with bottle cages, with pedals, with extra sealant in, with tyre liners, with the computer mount, just ready to go, ready to race. So there we go. So hopefully that's interesting. Let us know if you want anything else like that or want to know any more information about it. Thanks very much for watching.